I envisioned Angelina Jolie for this lead role. You know, I don't know if she'd be interested, but, you know, it's a possibility. So, all right, we're gonna go over the back.
Oh,
Yeah, real quick.
I'll just leave this and you
Perfect.
just draw a name.
Okay, all right, great. All right, so this is the back sheet. This is the crew that has been scheduled for the day. So we'll do it very quickly. I'm not gonna really go, I mean, it's pretty self-explanatory. So the production staff has the director, the UPM, that's the unit production manager, and these are all the DGA positions. Does everyone know what the DGA is?
No.
That's the Directors Guild of America. So, to be in those positions on a studio picture, you have to be part of the Directors Guild. So, the director, I know, is part of the Directors Guild, the UPM is part of the Directors Guild, the ADs are all part of the Directors Guild, and the PAs are not. And the Directors Guild comes out and really scrutinizes that, because if there's a PA doing an assistant director's job, that takes away from another assistant director who could possibly be working on the set. So this is highly scrutinized because all the unions get the call sheets. So these crafts are camera, obviously, and these are the director of photography, the operators, take any type of rigging or shooting scenarios. The dolly grips are part of the grip department. So the next one is set lighting. I mean, that's pretty self-explanatory. On our show, we also had rigging crew, but I don't think the rigging crew is on here. The rigging crew was usually a couple days ahead of us lighting, doing basic lighting before we came onto the set. Next is sound, and it's the mixer, the operator, and the sound utility. Pretty straightforward. Everybody understand that from sound. Then we get up to makeup and hair. There's usually a makeup department head and a hair department head. They're what they're called keys. And they basically make sure that the actors have continuity and consistency from day to day, because you might shoot one scene starting on Monday, and the next day you go in to finish the scene, and they have to look exactly the same. Otherwise, there's a glaring issue, you know, of continuity. So I know we've all probably seen stuff where, you know, that in one part of the scene the guy's wearing the striped tie, and the next part of the scene he's wearing the solid tie. It's like, did anyone not see that? You know. So, anyways, that also, that continuity comes from the script supervisor, who keeps those types of notes. So that's further down here on the call sheet. Costume department, that's pretty straightforward. Property is essential. So if you're on the set and it's let's say it's a cops movie, so props need to have guns, they have to have badges, they have to maybe have body armor. I mean, all these things are from the prop department. Or maybe they got a little surveillance device that rolls on the floor. That's the prop department. They'll make those, or they'll hire somebody. I mean, there's companies that specialize in doing specialized props. So this is all that needs to be coordinated too. And that comes from, you know, production meetings and knowing what's expected for that particular shooting, for that particular scene. Then the art department. Does everybody know what the art department does?
Graphics.
Any questions about that? The art department is what the look of the show or the movie. You know, the colors that are used. I mean, that's something that's determined early in pre-production, because nothing worse than having an actor stand up against a lilac wall that just doesn't look good, you know? Those colors bleed over onto an actor, and it's just, you know, it doesn't look good. Or having an actor wearing the same color outfit as the wall, the tonal. That happened on this show, and we all stood there and said, does anyone see a problem with this? And so they immediately had to run and change the actor's wardrobe so she didn't clash with the back wall. So, I mean, these are the things that, as a producer, you have to be aware of. So, the art department, set decorator. Does everybody know what a set decorator does? These are the people that put the furniture in, the pictures on the walls, the drapes on the windows. You know, this is everything so that when you come in, you're ready to shoot. So that's what the set decorator does. Many times where you'll see a room completely set up and the director says, well, I want to shoot over here. Well, there's a wall here with furniture. Well, they have to move all that furniture out. They have to break that wall apart. The groups usually do that, and they stand it over against the, back part of the stage. Then they can get the shot from the camera, where they can get the shot freely and be unencumbered by any type of, obstacles that were there initially when you walked into the set. Construction, they're building the sets. They're usually a week to 2 weeks ahead of you. They have blueprints, they have, production requirements. There's a window here, there's a wall there, there's a door here. We did a scene where one of the actresses had a sunken bathtub, so they had to build the steps up, they put the bathtub in, they had to have running water to it. So these are all things that the construction department does before you even get close to the set. Special effects, this guy was the one who would actually be prepared to have water running in a scene, or if something, we did a scene where the mother put a doll down on a stove and the Barbie caught fire. He was the one who did that. So, there's many things that these guys do that are just kind of on standby. So it could be water, it could be fire, it could be a car, backfiring, something coming out of the tailpipe. So these guys are really, kind of prepared for anything. And they're really, if you get good ones, they're really fun to work with, and they always have all the great gags to make the shots happen. The writers are pretty self-explanatory. They're locked in a cage with a key on it, and they're not let out until their pages are turned in. And I got to tell you, there were 2, 4, 5. This was what episode? We were 110. So we were at the end of the show, but they had almost 10 writers at certain times trying to get these scripts cranked out and tweaked and reworked. These people are relentless. They work, and they're in a tiny room, and I couldn't do it. In fact, I originally started out as an editor, and to be locked in a room for 12 hours, I just couldn't take it. I want to be out where the action is, where there's sunlight or a location, or even on a stage. You at least get to walk off the stage and then walk back in. So, everybody has their needs and requirements, and that was mine, and that's why I ended up going into camera. Production staff, this is pretty self-explanatory. These people make the behind-the-scenes needs met, especially the production coordinator. If you have a rock-solid production coordinator, she takes care of everything. This woman on this particular show, Jackie, she was phenomenal. She would anticipate my needs before I would anticipate them. She said, "Do you need this for the?" Yeah, great. She has done it, and she was on top of everything. She had a staff. She delegated responsibilities well to people who took those responsibilities and handled them. Nothing better than that when you have somebody that's so focused on the whole company, what it's going to take to get the shots done. So, everyone has their place in the hierarchy. Yes, ma'am?
These are all very separately skilled positions. Where do people learn this? Is there
Well, that's an excellent question. That's an excellent question. Well, people can start out as PAs, production assistants, where you're sitting there and you're maybe collating scripts to get them out for the crew, and then you get 4 copies for the director. He's got the actors in his office. That's the type of experience. You're in the production environment, you see what's going on, and anyone who's really got the ambition or the initiative listens to the process of, this is how many extras we're gonna have, this is how we're gonna get the cars done, we're gonna get this scene done, and they pick it up, And then in one time where somebody doesn't show up, you step in and you show your ability. That's you're welcomed into the family at that point. So like this particular coordinator worked with this UPM on 4 different shows, so they're a team.
Skip
So-
Odine?
Yeah. You know him?
Yeah, I know him very well.
Yeah. So, he's got it down. He was tough, but he was fair. If we said we needed X, Y, Z, he says, why do you need it? And I said, we need to do this, this, and this. He says, okay, that's fine. Get a price for me and let's see what we can do. And that's the way the process has to be. And there are guys that don't pay attention and they scream, why are we over budget? Or you get the guys who just say no, and it makes a difference of how things work. So there's a very unique balance of how these people need to do their jobs. But like Skip is responsible to the studio and the line producer. Where Warner Brothers says, well, why did we spend this extra $20,000 on this set? Well, it needed it. We had to have this. So these are very specific skills that are picked up through years and years of working in these various departments. Accounting, pretty straightforward. Payroll, accounts accounts payable, bills, take care of any of the things that are charged to the show. Post-production, so these are the editors. So there was a associate producer who was the post supervisor. Then she had an assistant, and then there were 2 editors, 2 assistant editors, and a post PA. Here's that example of a PA who's running to go get a hard drive from the post facility to bring back. This need to go to the sound department to get back so they can do what they call a lock, where they do picture and sound together. So these are how they get experience. And one day you'll see these people as a post PA maybe editing a feature film. So that's basically how the process works. Casting, those people are on their own. I never really dealt with them. Locations, that's a huge thing. Having the right look for the right, scene. It is a real talent, and usually location scouts go out and they take a gazillion pictures and they bring them back, first to the line producer and the UPM. We have this choice, and this choice. We're gonna shoot here, we can do this. If we shoot here, we can have parking over there. There's many variables that go into location. There was one nasty location that we shot in Encino, I believe it was Encino, up on the very top of the hill. I think it was above Michael Jackson's estate. And to get up there was one car, and you're talking one car up, one car down. So, getting trucks, equipment, crew was painful. And they made it work, but this house was circular, and in 3/4 of the house was glass, and you saw out to the north part of the valley and almost out to the west. You could barely see the water, but it was too smoggy, but it turned out to be a great location, isn't it? So anyway, that's what the location guys, location department does.
Alan, there's chairs over here and there's a chair over there. Come on, join the group.
There you go. And then the most important department was craft service. Without craft service, you can't make it through the day. I mean, to have those oatmeal cookies, you gotta have those. But, it's interesting. I remember being on one show, the producer was a little tough on craft service, not having the right things out for the crew. The crew's going 20, a mile a minute, trying to get stuff done. It's timely, you gotta have stuff happening. So, the craft service, I think, came about to keep everybody's energy level up. Everything happening, because you don't always have a chance to sit down and you wanna get that little extra something. And they have waters, and they have, on hot days, they all have Gatorade, stuff like that. So it's an essential part. And I remember telling the craft service person, you really are doing a great job, and you're as important as anybody on this set. She says, no one ever said that to me. I said, but it's true. you know, and I appreciate what you do, and I think everybody else does, but just has never said it. And that just made her day. She always remembered me every day, you know, that I complimented her on that.
And saved you an oatmeal cookie.
I couldn't take it anymore. Transportation, essential. The gentleman on this show that did Transpo was a amazing guy. Would always make sure that the camera truck was right next to the set where it needed to be, or if we needed runs to the vendor for camera gear, he would have it done. I mean, in the traffic in the city, sending somebody from Burbank to Woodland Hills at 2 o'clock in the afternoon, I'd shoot myself if I had to make that run. But he had guys that would do it and have the stuff back. Was amazing. You know, again, somebody who's qualified and who's organized and is a great leader in his department makes the whole world better for the show. So, anyway, and then on the bottom is the breakdown for that particular day, what those departments are gonna need. So camera, we're gonna use Steadicam and do a slow motion effect. So grip electric, there was nothing. Props, so you needed bank papers, bank documents, Diana's box of stuff, that was a story point. Pads, pencils,
I've
bank,
read too many in my life.
coffees, you know, all the stuff that you would put into the scene to make it real. Locations, there was nothing. Art department, they had to do a bar setup and a phone. Then transportation, they needed the lead actor's Cadillac out there for scene 102. And, you know, all the other stuff, the Crafty in the morning, because Crafty provided breakfast in the morning. They started at 5:30 for a 7 a.m. call time. All right, any questions about that? Yes, ma'am.
I'm sorry.
No.
The set department and the art department, who decides the look of the image, of what's going on? I mean, I've noticed sometimes with episodic from year to year, I know they've changed somebody because the look of the set is different. The colors are different,
That's a really good question. That is usually a collaborative decision made at the beginning of the season. We'll sit down in a production meeting like this and we'll go, you know, maybe the art director moved on to another show, or the producers wanted a different look. Then they would sit down and discuss that at the beginning of the season. And let's say it was a house that somebody was living in, and they didn't like the furnishings, they probably updated it, or they got notes from the studio or the network. You know, we thought it just looked a little flat and stale, why don't you spruce it up this season? So it could happen any place, but the art director works in conjunction with the producers, what the vision for the show is. So if they want to, you know, paint these walls, you know, light red for a real upbeat look, you know, that would probably be determined at the beginning of the season.
okay, and then the art director essentially tells the set director what the look is.
And the construction department too,
Uh-huh.
absolutely, because if it came down to painting or maybe putting another window in over here or something like that, that would be a collaborative decision that would be made, so. And that usually happens at the beginning of the season. Or it could happen in the middle of the season, like we did a scene where we shot in the May Company. Everybody remember the May Company? Well, this is in the 70s, and the first set we walked into was this big cavernous department, you know, that was supposedly in the May store, and it was so flat and ugly green and poorly lit, you know, accent lights and stuff like that. I mean, John Wells went nuts. He came in, he says, we're not shooting on here ever again until we do this, and this, and this. Then we went in, and there was another iteration of the May Company that came in with, okay, it's kind of an improvement, but just, then finally at the end, they went all out. They propped it, they got store fixtures, they put accent lights in, and it finally got to the level that it needed to be, because the first 2 times we shot in there, it was embarrassing. So, as I said, I've been coloring every episode, so I've been doing 1 a week, so I've done the first 2 episodes where we were in the May company. They completely cut around it. You don't even see it. You just know that they're there. So it was in tight, and they would go to this, and they go to a prop, they go to an over, and they got out of it because it just looked nasty. So I know if the show gets picked up, that stuff will all be dealt with in a different way. But the hierarchy would be the producers. The producers would then talk with the art department, the art director, the art director, and then the set decorators, as well as the construction team. And all of them collectively would then come up with a look. Now, the art director sometimes, depending on their skills, has blueprints drawn. And that shares with the other departments. So in other words, on this wall, we'll have this, or we'll have this window, or we're gonna have shears on them so we can blow light through and make it look a certain way. So this is all collectively done. So there is a hierarchy, but that's a really good question in how that process works.
My daughter-in-law is an assistant art director, so I
Oh.
sort of wondered how that worked, and I can
Sure,
ask.
yeah, no, they're responsible ultimately for culminating everybody's idea. So if the producer says, I want X, Y, and Z, the art director says, well, we can do X, Y, and Z, and then the art department works with, the rest of the departments, set decorating and construction to then execute it. And, it's a process, so as they start doing it, they all visit the set. Yeah, that's okay, I think this maybe needs to be darker. So it's an evolving process that happens. Yes, ma'am?
Your question. When you work in this show, right? From my understanding, you'll be doing a color correction, right?
Yes.
Have you guys applied any concept of a color symbolism to the story? Like let's say certain color
Right.
under the certain project means certain things. I just known about that at UCLA extension classes, and I'm just
Mhm.
curious about.
No, that's actually a very good
Nice.
question. I think unfortunately in TV that things move so fast that the symbolism of color really is not paid attention to like it would be in a feature. I think if you're doing something in a feature, and I'm gonna throw out some examples that don't necessarily mean stuff, but hopefully it illustrates the point. This is a sad day and things are happening, so the color is bluish, you got rain happening, it's dark clouds, so that would key in emotion. In TV, personally, I think it's lost because it's not, TV goes like this, you only have in an hour 42 minutes to tell a story. And if it's a 30-minute, it's 24 minutes to tell a story. They don't pay attention to things like that. I mean, there were so many times in here where we'd see color in an actor, it's like, really? What? You joking? And you just shoot it. You can voice a concern and hopefully they don't do it for the next episode. But you're right, they do, in a feature film, I mean, how many times we've seen classics? What was the movie that Eddie Redmayne won the Academy Award where he was transgendered?
Yeah.
What was his name? I forget.
Isn't it Code
Danish
Breakers?
Girl, yes, Danish Girl. Every shot was a painting. It was the shadows, the detail, the color, the emotion was there. It was brilliant, and that's really down gritty details of making sure the scene communicates what the director and the producer wanted to communicate. That's when you see a project like that come out, that is where the emotion really comes in, that you hope that you touch somebody, that they get the idea of what the scene was about. So,
What
any
about
other- yeah.
when they shoot an airline, do they actually, it looks so real, it looks like they were actually shooting at
Stages.
an airport.
Well, some of them,
Fuselage.
they do. There's terminals at LAX, I know, that at night that they can get away with shooting. As far as the airplane footage, there's mock-ups. There's a company in Burbank that has like 4 or 5 different planes, and they can split them apart, so you have people sitting here, and you can take a dolly down if you're doing a scene in the plane. this is all figured out, and these are all available, and,
They use extras?
oh, yeah,
Interior
absolutely.
for all that? Yeah.
Yep,
Because
absolutely.
it looks like real people and then
They are real people.
somebody.
They are.
Yeah, I know, but I mean, it looks like the actor is actually going through the, the terminal and going, how did they do this?
Yeah. No,
Magic.
it's done.
The movie magic.
So, it depends, there's so many different variables, the budget, the studio, the power that the studio has, if they wanna take over a terminal at LAX, it's big bucks. I mean, you've got security, you've got, support teams from LAX that have to be paid, and those guys are not cheap, they're $70, $80 an hour. So, I mean, this is, if that scene is important to you, you know that you're gonna spend, upwards of what you normally would spend shooting a location in Wilshire Boulevard or something like that, so. It's involved, but it's doable. Anything's doable, especially, when it comes down. There is an allure that when you say, I want to shoot a motion picture in your place, that some people kind of go, wow, really? You want to come here? I mean, I can't tell you how many times where we've taken over somebody's restaurant or a cafe or a beauty parlor, and these people, and the art department guts the place, puts it on a truck, brings their own stuff in, you shoot, and then they come back and they fix up the place back like it's normal. They take pictures, and you never know that a film crew was there, or even in somebody's house, they come in, they take everybody's stuff up. They don't even let the people stay there. They put them in a hotel someplace, so they don't see that the dolly just hit the wall, and put a little gash in it. But they do it, anything's possible with money and time. So, any other questions about? So, all right, here's the way I envision it, and this is just, we're gonna kind of put this together. Anyone has any ideas to add to it, I'm open to it. This is the first time for me as far as doing this. So, as I said, you are gonna be the director of your particular piece. So you've been optioned, you're getting ready to go into production, this is your production meeting, and, we're gonna use the call sheet kind of as a Bible to go through, everything from props to staffing to location to costumes to everything you would need on a day's shoot in this particular scene that you're gonna read. Does everybody understand? Any questions, or, we're gonna do this we're gonna feel this out as we go along, so.
Should we have a time limit on
I was
each
gonna
one?
say, we're probably gonna have to need a time limit of some, because.
You tell me.
Well, let's kind of like go through one, let's draw a name and see who's the first one up.
Okay.
And the winner is? The winner is?
The winner is,
An extra part in the movie.
you, Leah, handy?
Oh, me?
So why don't you come up here, and then we will read your script.
Only 2 pages.
Hmm? Great. My son's just working his ass off on the
Yulia,
segment
you
you
have
were
2
in.
pages?
I have
Should
3,
be
but
done
no,
this
I
afternoon.
hear
They
it.
gotta send
I
it
hear it.
Dropbox to New York, and then they gotta Dropbox it back to
The whole thing was sort of like,
to it.
How many actors do you
with
need?
the,
or do I
a
need,
bunch. I told him, all he's gotta do is show up. Because he asked me about
2
it.
actors.
I talked
That's
to
the
him
whole
last
thing.
week.
I
Oh, okay.
chose the scenes that are most wordy and less dialogue.
Okay.
So that was, I was curious. I sort of
That's
thought that.
Okay. I'm gonna go sit over here.
So you guys want me to read it?
Pardon?
Do you want? me
Well, we
to
were
read it?
hoping that it would be some, basic script where, there's some dialogue and we understand the scene that we're now gonna put into
Right.
Alan,
production.
why don't you take a look at it real quick?
Yeah.
Okay, maybe I'm not the best, for this one, but.
Who's that squeaky person at the end over there?
Yeah, this one's gonna be a little difficult, because there's 2 lines of dialogue. Yeah, I think you know what, let me
Let's
start
start.
with mine. I'll start with mine, and then we'll go for it. So I need a woman,
Don't we all?
yes, and a man. Wonder if we should just read it, and then we can put the elements together. To try and act it out, I think might be a little,
I agree, yeah,
little hard.
because that's why I was asking if we needed copies, and you said, no, they just haven't bring theirs, so they
Yeah,
only
that
brought
we,
one.
I think that's the easiest, because we're only gonna read 2 pages, and then we'll move on. So,
Well, you're working with Yuli on one, right? I mean, you'll get,
yeah, she's got that one. This is another one that
That's a
I'm
different
doing.
one?
This first,
Yeah.
I have it.
okay.
Can we, question, can we just read the 2 pages and then just go around the room and talk about how each one of us would make that scene in a short, like a 2-minute conversation
No, I
about,
don't think that's gonna work.
I don't think that's gonna work, because
Yeah.
of what I had hoped, and, you know, I'm open to any suggestions. I wanted to show how a production is actually put together.
Okay.
So from the 2 pages, what props are you gonna use? What location do you need? What actors you're gonna have?
Got it.
Hair and makeup, specific looks, props, planes, trains, automobiles, the other things that make up the scene. So I think mine has got the dialogue and some action in it. It's pretty extensive, but it'll show you the process, and we'll refine it as we go. So anyway, mine is a movie called Takeoff. It's written by myself and a writing partner. And it starts out, exterior dark airport tarmac, night. A woman's silhouette silently approaches a Gulfstream II in the dark of night. As she approaches the plane, she feels the barrel of a gun pressed against the back of her head. She hears a deep, menacing male voice, Miguel, in a rough Mexican accent. Take one more step and I'll blow your head off. She continues walking. Didn't you hear me? You are not going to take that plane. Okay, you win. Here are the keys. She tosses the keys up in the air. His attention turns to the keys. She kicks the gun out of his hand, spins, and her stiletto heel penetrates his left eye. She picks up the gun, retrieves the keys, and walks on. Enters the plane and greets her crew, prepping the aircraft for a midnight flight. Cut 2, interior Gulfstream II, night. Amelia Scott, voiceover. Repossessing luxury jets can be dangerous. No boy wants to give up his favorite toy, but that guy was trying to talk tough, which told me he really didn't want to shoot me. In the pilot seat, Amy is doing her pre-check as she starts taxiing to the runway. She radios the tower for permission to take off. Amy, 564 Delta Alpha requesting clearance for takeoff on runway 26 left. Air traffic controller, Delta Alpha, clear for takeoff. Airport tarmac night. The gunman is confronted by another, much more menacing armed man who approaches from the shadows of the hangar. Vincente, your only job was to protect my plane. What the hell happened? I'm sorry, boss. She caught me off guard. Too bad. You're a failure with 2 eyes. You're nothing to me now. Interior Gulfstream II, as Amy is taking off and gaining altitude past the tarmac where she boarded the repossessed plane, she looks out of the side cockpit and sees a muzzle flash. So that's the end of that scene. So it's pretty extensive. It's got a lot of stuff going on there. And so now we're in a production meeting, and I'm directing it, and you guys are going to be the different department heads, camera, prop, locations, transportation, and we'll put together how this needs to be done. So this is going to be day 2 of the shoot. So the location will be, been located, we'll shoot this at the Palm Springs Airport against a hangar. So we need 3 actors. Amy Scott is the lead actress. I had envisioned Charlize Theron to play this part. The basic background of this part is this is a fashion model who turns to a new career as her modeling career is winding down, and she begins repossessing luxury jets from around the world, the different issues that she has to deal with. So we need 2 character actors. One is Miguel, who also speaks with a Russian accent, and then Vicente, who also speaks with a very heavy Spanish accent.
I was gonna say.
Sorry, Spanish. So anyway, all right, so we're here to shoot it. I'm the director. So I think, I envision shooting this at night. I see a very big, heavy backlight behind the jet. I see some smoke, that billows out, giving some texture to the shooting area. So
Is
that's,
smoke from the jet?
no, the smoke would be produced by the visual effects team.
But I mean, where would it have come from?
It's like fog.
Okay,
Yeah, so that would just give some texture to it. When you do a very big, heavy backlight,